Hey friend, hit subscribe. It takes you a second, but it means the world to me. And please leave a comment on the Real Revenge Stories channel telling us which city you're watching this story from. That really helps the channel grow. Thank you. Now, back to the story. I always thought losing a business was the worst thing that could happen. Turns out, losing your family while you're still alive is worse. My wife's name was Olivia. We'd been married 14 years, raising 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. I ran a small construction company. Nothing fancy, but it paid for the mortgage, the SUV, and the little cabin by the lake. Life felt steady. Predictable. Until one morning she said she was tired. Her tone was calm, like she was talking about changing breakfast plans. I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was just burnout. A few weeks later, I found out she'd been living with a friend. Except that friend wasn't a woman. That same day, my savings account showed 0. Every dollar we built, gone. The business account was empty, the insurance on the kids had been transferred, even the college fund had vanished. She knew all my passwords. She knew I never checked notifications while on site. For a while, I refused to believe it. The bank said all transactions were done under a signed authorization, by me. Only the signature wasn't mine. 2 days later, a letter arrived from her lawyer. It demanded that I sell the house to fairly divide the assets. The same house where my kids still slept. The same walls that held our family photos, staged smiles, already lies. The kids kept asking when she was coming home. I had no answer. My oldest, Noah, started getting up at night to check if her car had returned to the driveway. My daughter, Emily, kept her mother's photo by the bed. I didn't drink. I didn't yell. I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my old laptop, and began rebuilding everything: records, receipts, email copies, contract logs. Anything that could prove the company was mine. Not ours. Mine. By the third night, I understood it wasn't an emotional exit. It was a plan, structured, deliberate, and I was just an obstacle inside it. Around 11, my former partner, Tom, called. His voice was low. Ryan, she moved the accounts through a shell company. There's a loan under your name. I didn't even flinch. When? 2 weeks ago. And the guarantor. He paused. Your mother-in-law. I hung up. The clock on the wall ticked. A mug of cold coffee reflected the light. The house was silent, but it wasn't mine anymore. That night, I realized a war had started. No shouting, no fists. Just paper. And I knew I'd win it. She thought she'd left me with nothing. She forgot I'd build things from ruins. For a week, my mornings started the same way: black coffee, quiet house, open laptop. I went through every folder, every invoice, every archived email. The pattern was clear. Money hadn't just disappeared. It had been rerouted. She'd opened a new business account 2 months before she left. Same initials, different spelling. Enough to confuse any system. My signature was forged on 3 contracts. The dates lined up perfectly with her girls' trips. I called the bank again. This time, I asked for the fraud department. The man on the line said politely, Mr. Miller, the transactions were authorized. If you suspect forgery, you'll need to file through civil court. Civil court. Meaning months of paperwork. Meaning money I didn't have. By Wednesday, the pressure built. Clients started calling. Someone had contacted them under my company name, offering better rates. One of them sent me the email. It came from an address 1 letter off from mine. At night, I sat at the table with my kids. Noah did his homework in silence. Ben asked if we could still go to the lake this summer. Emily just stared at her food. I told them yes, even though the cabin was already listed for sale. After they went to bed, I drove to the office, or what used to be mine. The locks had been changed. Through the glass I could see new signs, new files, new people. A cleaning lady came out with a bag of trash. Do you know who's in charge here now? I asked. She shrugged. A woman named Olivia. She said she's the owner? I stood there for a moment, hands in my pockets, pretending to check my phone. Then I walked back to the truck. The next morning, I went to see an old accountant friend, Mason. He'd been with us since we first registered the company. She didn't just steal money, he said, flipping through the documents. She built a shadow version of your business. Same clients, same vendors, even the same license number. She's good. Scary good. I asked what I could do. He looked at me for a long time. You build. She destroys. That's her pattern. But if she's using your tax ID, she's made a mistake. What mistake? He smiled faintly. Government databases don't forget. I drove home through the rain, the windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm. My phone buzzed once, a blocked number. I didn't answer. A voicemail came through. The voice was calm, familiar, almost gentle. You should stop digging, Ryan. It's over. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. And it told me one thing for sure, she was still close. For 2 days I didn't touch the voicemail. I just replayed it in my head. The tone wasn't angry. It was composed. That was worse. Friday morning, I drove to drop the kids at school. As I pulled up, Emily pointed toward the fence. Dad, she said, that's Mom's car. It wasn't hers. Not exactly. But the same model, same color, silver SUV, tinted windows. It turned the corner too fast and disappeared. Back home, I checked the mailbox. Inside was an unmarked envelope. No return address. Just one sheet of paper. Think about the kids. Stop before they get dragged into this. I folded it once and put it in the drawer with the others: bank letters, forged documents, fake invoices. The pile was growing. That afternoon, I met Mason again. He'd found something. She didn't close your old EIN, he said. That means she's still filing under your name. I asked what that meant for me. It means the IRS thinks you're still her partner, he said quietly. And if she moves large sums, you're the one they'll come for. I laughed once, short and sharp. She didn't just burn the bridge. She built a trap under it. Mason nodded. You'll need evidence. Timestamp, traceable, provable. Paper wins. I left his office and sat in the truck, staring at the steering wheel. The voicemail replayed in my mind again, that calm voice saying, "It's over." When I got home, Noah was outside fixing his bike. "Dad," he said, "some lady came by. Said she used to work with you. Left this." He handed me a small blue folder. Inside, copies of contracts. Each one had my name, my company, and her signature beside it. But the dates were recent. The woman's handwriting on the sticky notes said, "She's still using your name. Protect your kids. No sender. No contact." Just that. At midnight, I went through the documents again, one by one. Same forged signature. Same routing number. And at the bottom corner of every page, the same initials. O.M. Olivia Miller. My wife's maiden name. She hadn't disappeared. She'd adapted. Around 2 a.m., I heard a car outside. Engine idling. Headlights sweeping across the living room wall. Then silence. I didn't go to the window. I just sat there, waiting for the sound of the car door. It never came. Only the ticking of the clock. But I knew. She was close enough to see the lights inside. Close enough to know we were still awake. By Monday, I'd decided to stop reacting and start moving. Mason gave me a number for an attorney, Claire Dorsey, a quiet woman who specialized in financial fraud. I brought everything I had: copies, notes, forged documents, even the voicemail transcript. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she said, "You're not the first man I've seen in this chair. You'll need patience, and proof that can't be questioned." She helped me draft the first motion, a freeze request on any account tied to my tax ID. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I drove straight to the courthouse. The clerk scanned the papers, stamped them, and slid them back across the counter. "You'll be notified," she said. The same night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Seconds later, a text came through. "You just made things harder for them." No name, no context. But I knew who them meant. The next morning, I found a dead phone line at the office. Someone had canceled the business number. Mason checked the records. The request came from a verified owner. "Ryan," he said carefully, "she's watching every move you make." I didn't respond. I printed out copies of everything again and stored them in 3 separate envelopes, one at home, one in my truck, one with Mason. That afternoon, Claire called. "Your freeze order was denied," she said. "The account was already closed. Funds moved overseas 2 weeks ago." So she'd known. She'd been one step ahead again. At dinner, Noah asked if I was okay. I said yes. Emily drew pictures of a house by a lake, just like the one we used to visit. Ben asked if Mom was still on vacation. "Something like that," I said. After they went to bed, I checked the voicemail again, the same calm female voice. "You don't want to lose what's left." This time, there was background noise, traffic, and a faint bell. Mason traced it later. Downtown. Near the old office. I drove there around midnight. The building was dark except for one light upstairs. Her office. Through the glass, I could see a shadow move, tall, steady, unmistakable. Then the light went out. For a moment, the city was silent. Just me, my reflection in the window, and the thought that she already knew I was there. By Thursday, I'd stopped sleeping. Every night, I went through the same routine: print, label, file. There was comfort in repetition. Control, even if it was borrowed. Claire called that morning. "Ryan, I found something," she said. "A new company registration, same address, same employees, same EIN variation. Different name, Miller and Company. West." She didn't even bother to hide it. I drove downtown to verify it myself. The building directory still had my old logo, only the tagline had changed. Rebuilt. Renewed. I walked past the glass doors. The receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "You already did." Outside, the air felt heavy, like the world was pretending to stay calm for me. I called Mason. "I need every record from the past year, suppliers, clients, payroll." He sent the files within the hour. Each document was cleaner than the last, almost too clean, the kind of perfection only forged paperwork has. At 6 p.m., Claire met me at a diner on 4th Street. She spread the documents on the table like cards. "She's using offshore intermediaries," she said. "Money's looping through Belize, then back to a domestic shell. And here's the catch: her signature on this transfer matches the original you filed in 2018. If we cross-verify with the notary stamp, we can prove duplication." "What happens then?" She leaned back. "We open a fraud case. Federal. She won't be able to buy coffee without a flag." I stared at the folder. "Then we start there." For the first time in months, I felt a pulse of calm, not relief, just direction. The next day, I went to the notary's office. The same clerk from years ago still worked there. I showed her both documents. She looked at the second one, frowning. "This stamp's fake," she said. "The seal number doesn't exist." "How can you tell?" "Because I made the real one," she said, and scribbled her name on a sworn affidavit. That paper, 1 page, 2 signatures, was the first real weapon I had. When I got home that night, the house was dark. Mason had picked up the kids from school. He'd been helping more than he should. On the table was a small package. No label, just a thin silver ribbon. Inside, a copy of my old business license, torn in half. A note beside it read, "You still think paper will save you?" For a moment, I just stared at it. Then I slid it into the same folder with the affidavit. If she wanted a paper war, I was done defending. I'd start writing my own. The affidavit changed everything. Claire filed it with the fraud division, attaching every document we'd built so far. For the first time, the silence on her side broke. 3 days later, a letter arrived. It wasn't from Olivia, it was from her attorney. A warning. Cease and desist all defamation and harassment toward my client. I smiled. They'd taken the bait. Mason checked the case tracker online. She's moving money again, he said. Small transfers. She's nervous. Good, I said. Let her sweat. That afternoon, I met with a federal investigator, Agent Torres. He listened quietly, flipping through each page. It's a strong case, he said, but you're not ready for the backlash. She'll come after the kids next. He was right. That night, Noah got a message from an unknown number. Your father's lying to you. Ask him what he did to your mother. I took the phone from him without saying a word. The number was encrypted, routed through a messaging app. Professional. Calculated. The next morning, the school called. Someone claiming to be Olivia had tried to pick up Emily early. They asked for ID. She left before security arrived. By evening, the house didn't feel safe anymore. Mason installed cameras, changed locks, added alarms. Every sound in the dark felt amplified: wind, footsteps, silence itself. Claire called around midnight. Her lawyer filed a counterclaim. She said, "She's accusing you of business theft, tax evasion, and emotional abuse." I didn't answer for a moment. Then I said, "Let her talk. I've got paper." The next day, Agent Torres came by unannounced. "We verified the Belize account," he said. "Funds trace back to an entity registered under her maiden name. We'll freeze it in 48 hours. 48 hours. I'd waited 5 years for something solid, and now it was finally moving. That night, I took out the torn business license she'd sent me. The note, "You still think paper will save you?" sat under the lamp. I turned it over. There was something written on the back, faint, almost hidden. A date. And a time. Saturday, 9:30 a.m. Below it, 2 words. "You'll see." The handwriting was hers. Exact. Precise. Controlled. For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't let in: unease. Whatever was coming, it wasn't over paper anymore. Saturday came cold and gray. The kind of morning when the air itself feels cautious. I left the kids with Mason and drove downtown. The courthouse steps were slick from rain, the flag barely moving in the wind. Inside, Claire waited near the benches. "She's here," she said quietly. I didn't look for her at first. I didn't need to. The sound of her heels, steady, deliberate, was enough. Olivia walked in wearing gray, hair shorter, face calmer. She looked like a woman who'd already rehearsed every outcome. When the clerk called the case, she smiled at me once, the same polite smile she'd used years ago when she said she was tired. The hearing lasted 40 minutes. Claire presented the affidavit, the forged notary stamp, the Belize account, the false filings. Each document was numbered, time-stamped, cross-verified. Her lawyer objected twice. The judge overruled both. At the 35th minute, the judge leaned back. "Mrs. Miller," he said, "you've committed systematic fraud. The court will refer this to the district attorney." Olivia's face didn't change. Only her hands did. They stopped moving. When the session ended, she stood near the exit, waiting. "You think this fixes anything?" she said softly. "They'll still grow up knowing what you did to us." I looked at her once. "No," I said. "They'll grow up knowing what you did to yourself." Outside, the rain had stopped. Reporters asked questions, microphones flashing like insects. I said nothing. By noon, the accounts were frozen, the business title restored, and a warrant was issued. At home, Noah sat on the couch, reading the court notice online. "Does this mean we're free?" he asked. I nodded. It means we start over. That night, I burned the last copy of her forged documents. One by one, page by page, until only the affidavit remained, the first thing that proved I was still standing. I kept that one. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. Some people fight with anger. Others fight with evidence. And sometimes, silence wins louder than noise. If you liked this story, subscribe. New stories every day on Real Revenge Stories.